When the Viltrox engineers asked their bosses, how wide do you want the new lens? They said, yes. Would you look at this? I am touching the lens right now, not even extending my arm. I could be out here, and this is with a 10% active steady shot crop on the A6700. Mind blown, let's go. The geniuses over at Viltrox have done something crazy. This is a 9mm rectilinear lens. This is not a fisheye lens, and it is an autofocus lens. f2.8 in a package this small and light. It's also extremely affordable. It's part of their Air series line, which I think is the best line of lenses going in terms of quality to price ratio. Just outstanding. Okay, so check this out. This is the little ZV-E10 Mark II with its hefty 40% crop in active stabilization. But as you can see, still plenty of real estate back here. Look at this wonderful, gorgeous, graffitied brick wall. And I'm not even holding this at arm's length. I got a nice bend in my arm, nice and comfortable. Touching the lens right here. I could hold it right out here. Ooh, look at this. Check out for the schmutz on the shirt so that we don't look like a vagabond here. And if I wanted, I could turn off all stabilization, have the ultimate wide field of view, and then just use Catalyst Browse with my Sony cameras and crop in post and decide how much of a crop I want, which would give me a ridiculously wide field of view. Before I get into the tests, I will tell you that Viltrox did ask me to introduce this lens to you. This is a sponsored video, but Viltrox, very cool about sponsorships. They don't ask to see the video. They just let me do my regular video. If I have criticisms, they take those criticisms to heart and they are not offended. I do have a couple of criticisms about this lens. It is not perfect, but it is really, really great. So hopefully, sponsored video or not, you will glean enough information from this video to have a good sense of whether or not this is a type of lens you'd like to purchase. A 9mm on an APS-C is equivalent to roughly a 13.5mm lens on a full frame camera. And they have actually introduced basically a full frame version of this lens today, the 14mm f4. I will cover that in a separate video. Today, we will talk about the 9mm for us APS-C shooters. Now, I really love an ultrawide, not just for vlogging my pretty face, but also for street photography. I find you can really immerse yourself right in the action of a city, press the button, and everything you see and more is covered. And I love that. You can do basically covert street photography where no one even knows you're taking a photo of them because they're way over there, and you can just get the real reactions of people living their day-to-day lives. And that's what I like with street photography. I don't like to interrupt the scene. I like to just see it as it is and then capture that essence of a city or wherever I am. And you can get really unique shots, really unique perspectives with an ultra wide lens that you wouldn't otherwise get. And what makes this even more unique is that it has a crazy minimum focus distance, 13 centimeters, which basically means you can touch the lens hood off the thing you are taking a photo of and it will still be in focus. Look at this. My eye is still in focus and I don't think I have ever looked better. And if we zoom in, look how sharp this lens is. It is crazy, crazy sharp. Now, of course, a lot of people love an ultra-wide for landscape photography, and this is very suitable for that. However, when it comes to astrophotography, I would say at an f2.8, maybe look for a faster lens when you want to shoot astro. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. First thing, autofocus. As usual, Viltrox has done a great job with autofocus. As good as any third-party lens, grabs your eye, never lets go, didn't have any trouble autofocusing this lens. Whether AFC, AFS, tracking, it doesn't matter. It does a bang-up job. You will see some focus breathing on this 9mm if you are racking focus from really close to really far away. With a really wide-angle lens, you are not often doing that, so I don't think focus breathing is going to be a problem for a lot of people. However, it is there, so be aware of that. With chromatic aberration, like a lot of the Air series lenses, this thing just does fantastic when it comes to chromatic aberration. Lateral chromatic aberration, you don't see any. It doesn't matter how hard you stress the picture. It could be in shadows, drag it up, overexpose. You don't see any lateral chromatic aberration. And the same thing with the longitudinal chromatic aberration, the loci. With the areas in the foreground and background that are out of focus, when those have color fringing on them, that is the loci. And this one does a great job. Yes, it's f2.8. It's not shot down at f1.2, so it is easier to make a lens that doesn't have a bunch of Bokeh and a bunch of lateral chromatic aberration. When you're starting at f2.8, still, it is really nice to see. With your raw photos, you will see a little bit of barrel distortion. I figured it'd be way more with a lens this small and this wide, but it's actually quite well controlled, way better than something like the Sony 11, which has crazy barrel distortion in the raw image. If you're shooting in JPEG or video, you don't have to worry about it. The camera will do the corrections for you. But if you want to shoot in RAW, then you can use the Viltrox picture profile they will have in programs like Lightroom, or you can make an adjustment. I find about a +9 is good when it comes to the barrel distortion on this guy, and for vignetting, about a +25 will get rid of the small amount of vignetting. But I can use these images straight out of camera without much issue. But if you want to be perfect, you go with +8 or 9 with barrel distortion and +25 on vignette. That is until the picture profile comes out and you can correct it with one click. Now, an area this lens does have a problem with occasionally is when it comes to flaring and ghosting. You can get some pretty crazy flares if the sun is in the wrong angle. Nice bright midday sun at the wrong angle. You can get some pretty crazy flares, a little bit of rainbowing around the edges of your frame, and some ghosting artifacts as well. It doesn't happen all the time, but once in a while, you do have to watch out for that. Now, the Sunstars are quite brilliant on this lens. You start to get them at around f4 and at f16, really strong, really prominent, and very nice. When it comes to the bokeh and the bokeh balls, with an ultra-wide lens like this, you're not often getting a ton of separation from your subject to the background, but because you can focus so close, occasionally you can do that. If you get close enough, you can blow out that background, and at 2.8, you can still get some nice blur, and the blur is quite pleasing, nice fall off from things that are in focus to out of focus, but really, subject separation is not going to be the strong suit of a 9mm lens. And you can see that with the bokeh balls. They are quite small in the frame, and they also have the outline of the aperture blades on the lens when you are pixel peeping. With the build quality, we see the typical build for the Air series, just a hard plastic with a smooth turning plastic focus ring, a small petal lens hood, and on the back, no weather sealing gasket, no weather sealing to speak of really, and also a little USB-C port for updating your lens. It does take lens filters. It is a 58mm filter thread, so that's great to be able to stick on a filter to a lens this wide. Once upon a time, wide lenses would have a big bulging front and you can never screw on a filter on the front, but nowadays, engineering has gone crazy. Without the caps, the lens only weighs 174 grams. You can take this around all day on your APS-C camera. You'll never feel it. Now, this is the 5th lens in the Air series, number 5 already. This is the widest one at 9mm f2.8. They also have a 15mm f1.7, a 25mm f1.7, 35 1.7, and a 56 1.7. All of those lenses are under $200, and they're all 1.7 except this guy that is f2.8, and that's understandable. To make an f1.7 that is this wide, it would have had to been a bigger lens, so I don't mind that at all. When it comes to value, I think this is ridiculous. 9mm, not a fisheye, autofocus that works great, and an f2.8. Now, I've always said the Sony 11mm f1.8 is the best wide-angle lens for the Sony APS-C system. I still do think that overall that is pretty much a perfect lens, and it works better with Sony's active stabilization because it's a native Sony lens with a Sony body that tends to work better than third-party lenses when it comes to the active stabilization. But right now, that lens is about 3 times the price of this one, and it is not as wide as this one. There's also the Yongnuo 11mm f1.8, and I often recommend that lens to people who want the Sony 11, but they don't want to pay Sony 11 prices. But now we have an option of something even wider and even cheaper than that Yongnuo. So let me know down below what you think of this 9mm lens. Are you as blown away as I am? Are you going to pick one up? If not, what lens would you like to pick up? Maybe I can review that for your faces. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.